Well, welcome back to Movie Mogul 101. Hey, I'm your host, Walt Whitmore. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. We're going to do a little something different in that I have a real life filmmaker that I'm going to interview. Yes, yes. But first, allow me to extend my apologies. I've been MIA, and I don't make any excuses for being MIA, but I'll tell you what I've been doing though. Um, Took my daughter off to Vancouver Film School. That's right. She's in film school in Vancouver, British Columbia. And no, she's not going into filmmaking. She's actually going into animated art and an accomplished artist. I mean, she's actually edited, she's actually illustrated 7 books for clients and whatnot. And she has a sort of a Disney type of uh, style about herself. And certainly in the future, I'll put some of her stuff up so that you'll have a reference point in terms of who my daughter is and just how great she is. But yeah, so been in Vancouver, hanging out with her, getting her acclimated. And like I said, make no excuse for missing my broadcast, but I am back. And we're just going to change it up a little bit. We're not going to talk about the making of the teaser today and what and where I have progressed on that. But who I have with me today is Chris Crawford, better known as Crawfini. He is he's the godfather of movie shorts. And I had a blessed opportunity today to actually look at a movie that he just produced. But before I get that, just a little bit about him in terms of his bio. Crawfini, his journey into filmmaking began in music. Before becoming a writer, director, and editor, he worked as a music producer. His introduction to film happened almost by accident when one of his artists needed a music video. Crawfini connected with film students from a local film school to shoot the project. When the video was finished, he noticed that he had been credited as the director. Confused, he asked why. The director explained that since Crawfini created the shot list and directed the camera on what shots to capture, he was indeed the director. The experience sparked his interest in filmmaking. The following year, Crawfini directed another music video. In 2016, he created a television project titled Pimps, Pastors, Politicians. Sounds like today. But after having a bad experience, he decided to step away from filming for a time. Nearly 10 years later, Crawfini returns with his new short, Good Morning. All right. Well, welcome, Crawfini or Chris Crawford. And just a little background in terms of how we met. What he didn't mention in his bio, and this is what I read directly as he provided it, is that he is also the owner of Rick TV, RICC TV .com or
No, it's .tv.
.tv. Yep. And he runs the studio. He's broadcasting right now live. And it's just so funny how we have so much in common. You just don't know, Chris. Where you are, that's where I'm headed. And that's why I'm really interested in what you did with your project, Good Morning. But tell us a little bit about you before we start talking about Good Morning.
Well, basically, you said it in a nutshell. Everything that I've done. I've always been a creative kind of a person, and it started with music. I've always wanted to be in music, and that situation with the. I'm gonna go ahead and give a shout out to the school. It's a school called MPI. As a matter of fact, I think it's the only school that we have in independent, trade school of that nature that does film. Is that true?
I don't know, but certainly MPI, they stand alone in terms of their quality and the artists like yourself that they're putting out. Yes, no doubt. Because I actually had I went to an open house over there, so I'm
Mhm.
impressed and have some aspirations of attending there myself.
So I went there. I just called and said, "Hey, you got any film students that want to make some money?" You know, and they put me on to a guy. Can't remember his name because that was about 15 years ago. Can't think of his name, but he got a crew together, sound person, about 4-man crew. And I had no idea what a shot list was. I mean, no idea. Didn't look it up on
Hmm.
the internet or nothing. But I had I wanted to kind of draw out with stick figures what I wanted the video to be. I picked the location and I was like, okay, I want this person sitting here. I want this person sitting here. Had no idea that I was directing, actually directing, you know? So I did that and they followed what I said. So when he did the edit, he didn't have any equipment. I think his last name was McCartney or something. I can't think of his first name, but he was in the edit room and he put down Chris Crawford as director. I'm like, I thought you were the director. He was like, no, was it the director? He was like, well, he was the director, but he didn't do any directing. He was like, I directed. So, he was just basically doing what I say. So he put himself down as the first AD, what I'm saying, the assistant director. So that's when I feel that I became a director. So a few years after that, I did another music video and did the same thing. I had exactly the vision of what I wanted. I had shot by shot, wrote down. At that time, I had did some research that what I did prior was a shot list. So I knew what a shot list was then. So I shot that video and I thought about a series about a year after the second music video. I thought about a TV. I was like, you know what? I have this camera that I was doing photography because I was doing wedding photos. And then I found
Okay.
out that the camera does the video. I had a 5D Mark III. I was like, I'm gonna use this and see if I could shoot actual series. And it was called Pimps Pastors. Did I ever let you see Pimps Pastors
Oh
Brothers?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. It was
Okay,
it, it was it was quite comedic,
I
if
did right.
nothing else.
I did that was my first attempt and you know, uh I didn't know really the terminology. I was a raw director. I didn't really still consider myself as a director. I was, pretty raw, so I didn't know a lot of the lingo. So I hired a guy and I guess he was just the DP and we couldn't communicate. We really couldn't.
Okay, for our audience, a DP.
DP is the director of photography.
Okay, all right.
So we were in a little bit of a conflict on what role is the roles in cinematography or filmmaking. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really know rules and stuff that we supposed to do as in on a set. Like, okay, this many hours, we take the break. And I just, did it when we get tired, we take a break or whatever. I didn't really have too much structure. So that um this gentleman was used to structured, things. So mine was a little bit chaotic. We were getting things done, but it was a little chaotic. So we kind of bumped heads a little bit on, creative differences. So I didn't really like the project. It wasn't actually the vision that I actually wanted it to be. So I got kind of discouraged and just let it go, you know. And now some years later, I mean actually like 10 years later, I'm actually getting ready to I shot Good Morning. And it was like, okay, the reason I just shot it is because there's never going to be the right time to shoot your movie. Okay. You're never going to have enough money. You're just not. Okay. Nobody's going to give you any money. You're just gonna have to, in the words of Arthur Ashe, start where you are, use what you got, and do what you can. Situation. So I seized the moment. I had the pleasure of working at a creative space, um, uh, working for this ministry that I did. I'm not going to mention the ministry, but I was working at a ministry where I was the film editor for the TV broadcast. And I met other editors and other creative people, and being around them, I was like, look, man, we're just going to go for it and just do this short. And we're going to do it the right way. We're going to have a budget. We're going to actually do it for real.
Right.
Hire some actors, we're going to pay some people, and we're going to make it happen.
But let's back it up.
Okay.
Well before that of Good Morning, and when you were doing music videos, you had to have had some inclination that, I like this and I've got a creative flair. I've got an eye about myself in order to be able to see shots and that type of thing. That was something that was there well before you even thought about Good Morning. It had to have been.
Not that it's just, it was actually natural. It was actually, to be honest with you, I um I was the art director of the album cover and everything.
Hmm.
All I just have I guess I just had a natural ability of knowing
Exactly.
what I wanted, you know?
Right.
So I
And,
didn't put a title to it at the time. I didn't think it was, you know, if the guy who was the DP, if the guy at Motion Picture Institute put himself down as the director, I wouldn't have challenged him on it at all because I didn't really, know.
right, and I can relate to that 100%. I've done just a little bit in terms of producing some things, and it's just been off of the raw in terms of being able to see. I mean, and like yourself, and it's so interesting. I didn't know this about your past, but like you were producing artists and whatnot. At one time, I had a company called Nightlife Entertainment and Productions in Grand Rapids, and we were bringing in live acts, blues and jazz acts, to several different venues and whatnot. And I have very little experience in music. I don't, I mean, I don't know music theory. I don't play anything, but I could hear it. It sounds good, and more importantly, I could see how the crowd would react. And we were really quite successful in what we did. Just like you, it was sort of like a natural thing that you picked up, and I sort of picked up as well. But did you go further once you did the first project and you dealt with someone at MPI? Because if I remember correctly, during COVID, that's when you honed your skills as it relates to that of being a filmmaker.
Yes.
Tell
Okay.
us about that.
Okay, let's go back to the music video at MPI. So first music video. Matter of fact, I'll send you these videos because I don't
Okay.
think you've ever seen the music videos. Have you?
No.
Okay, so my best friend had an album. I co-wrote songs and produced this album at a studio called Studio A in Detroit. Then we put out the one music video. Then I had a friend that I was managing, a female artist, and she put out a song, and we put out another music video. But we didn't use MPI at the time because get MPI stopped doing that. He was like, okay. They said that when I called MPI again about, hey, yeah, I did this before. 5 years ago, I called up here. It's like, nah, unless the students paid their full tuition, we don't recommend nobody. So they just stopped.
Of course.
They just stopped doing that. And so I found another guy, went to ProCam, and I found this other guy. And he was the DP and he worked the camera. I wasn't working cameras at the time. So, and then fast forward to the Pimps, Passions, Politicians. I wasn't working the camera, but I had a camera. So the guy I hired for the DP was using that camera. And then once he moved on to, I guess he went to grad school. Um, I had the camera, so I needed to start messing with the camera. So now we're at like 2018, I believe. So then we come down to 2020. I created a vision board, and I wrote down exactly what I want to do. I said, okay, I want to start getting into weddings and stuff like that. And I put on the vision board that I wanted to be an editor on Final Cut Pro. I wanted to master that. And I wanted to learn how to do films and start doing weddings. And I homed in on my craft and started doing it. A few years later, I created the Rig TV. Of course, you know that, your wife was a part of Rig TV, one of the first clients that we had on the station. And I appreciate that very much. Um,
Hmm.
Start doing the podcast. I actually, when I marked, wait a minute. So that was, you know what year that was? That was 2022,
23. 23.
23. So I don't think I had the computer yet to actually do it. So I was just speaking as if, I had it.
Hmm.
So by the time y'all agreed to it, I knew I was going to have you know, the computer that had the processing power to actually, do the podcast. So, but I knew how to edit with Final Cut Pro with the prior computer I had. So that's basically got me into editing, and then that doing the editing, doing the your show and Pastor Wallace show. Got a job at a ministry as a professional editor. you know, just off showing the demonstrations of what I do. And so now I'm doing it. I got out of the truck. I was driving a truck and I got out of the truck and I started doing editing professionally.
So as I'm paying attention, it sounds like that you have made three major career shifts in your life,
Yeah,
at
but
least.
at least. Well, so the first career, I was working as a PSO at Department of Homeland Security. You know, we were just federal guards that are in the lobbies of the buildings and Social Security. I
Hmm.
worked there for about 13 years and left early, cashed out my 401k, got into trucking, trying to do it independently. But what I
Sure.
should have did was get a job in trucking and learn the game and then get out here and buy my truck. So uh did it in reverse, then lost the business, had to go start driving a truck. But during my truck driving, I've been thinking about, matter of fact, I used to do video memos to myself. And I was going back through this stuff, talking about creating the rig TV and creating all the stuff. And I was like, I didn't even remember, even doing this stuff. I'm just looking at my videos. I'm like, man, I used to just talk to myself in the truck as I'm at truck stops and just saying manifesting what I wanted, to do. And it just, you know, the tongue is a powerful thing and you can speak what you want into existence.
Amen.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
then, but with that 10-year gap, was there something just gnawing at you in terms of get back to this, get back to this, get back to this? This is your calling. While you were living life and raising children and doing all the things that come along with being an adult that has a job.
Actually, no, I gave up. I gave up and I was trying to convince myself I was a truck driver. But truck drivers would um
Remind you that you weren't really
they
one
would
of them
they
based
would
upon their
see.
conversation.
Matter of fact, a good friend of mine, who I'm still friends with now in the trucking, man, he was like, dude, you are too smart for this job. I'm like, what you mean, man? He was like, you learned this little handheld computer in one day, and we supposed to train people for 2 weeks, and you just and you just mastered it by the end of the day. I'm like, what's so hard about this? He's like, man, you need to get out of here. Now he didn't know me. I didn't express to him what I do, or what I used to do. But people would just see. I just never been comfortable at jobs, being creative because you can't express yourself to nobody else. They don't understand. Like, no, man, this is the job. This is what we do, you know? And when I'm talking all this ambitious stuff, I'm looked at like, like I'm crazy. So you really can't share dreams and stuff at your workplace because there's not a lot of people that's dreaming. There's just people trying to work, get a paycheck, hang out on the weekend, drink a beer, get on the grill, go hunting, and then come back. I mean, that was truck life.
And while you were in between halls and whatnot, you were supporting your wife as she was going through nursing school, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, she's in nursing school, and basically, I had when I got to FedEx, you know, when you get to one of those big major companies, trucking like FedEx, UPS, Walmart, Meyer, those are the final front. Those are the last trucking jobs you get. So when you get there, hey man, you'd have made it in trucking. You could sit back and retire. You
Right.
write your own check. So I got there and I convinced myself to not want to do anything no more. I just, I guess it was in the back of my mind, but no, man, just go home. Got a good job. There's nothing to complain about. But still, the never fitting in. I'm not a trucker. I'm just, I'm
Right.
just, I'm not a trucker. But one thing that I'll tell you what got me out of it, and it actually got me very emotional too. There was a director. I was listening to a master class. Okay, you familiar with the master class?
Certainly, yes. Hmm.
I'm listening to a master class, and the biggest director, one of the biggest directors of all time. Don't have as many movies as Spielberg, but he has bigger numbers than Spielberg. James Cameron, the director of
Yeah,
Titanic,
Titanic.
the director of Avatar. Man,
Hmm.
I've heard his story, and he said that he drew the sketch of that uh tree that was an Avatar, the deity. Remember
Yeah,
in Avatar,
sure.
he drew that, and he drew this skeleton figure way back in the 70s and didn't know what it was. Do you know when he drew when do you know when he drew that? At a truck stop, because he was a truck driver.
Wow.
Dude, when I heard that James when I heard him say that he was a truck driver and he dropped some stuff off, and then he had a load in California to drop off at a movie set, and then it just clicked of what he was wanting to do. When he seen that, he figured out what that was. That he knew what that was. Those drawings. And it clicked to me. You know what I'm saying? James Cameron wasn't a truck driver. And he knew
Right.
he was a truck driver. You know, it just didn't come together yet until he went to a movie set and said that, you know what, I can do this. You know, and then he
That
got
was his moment, and your moment was understanding that he discovered his moment that way, also while
exactly,
driving the truck.
exactly.
And
So I'm thinking to myself, it was meant for me to hear that and, hear that story because it just shows that it can be done. That, an average Joe, which he was just being an average Joe. I don't know if he had a family or nothing, during that time, but he was a truck driver and he went on set and now he's pretty much the top grossing director ever.
so now um, you're reinvigorated for filmmaking. What comes next after that 10-year gap? What do you do next after the 10-year gap?
You saying after the 10-year gap?
Right, right. So boom, you get the idea, you're inspired by Cameron. It's 10 years later from when you sat down. Now, what happens?
I can't, I've got out of the truck, got a professional editing job, and then I was going to talking to the team that I work with, we started working on films. The person that was the assistant director, she started working on a short film, and she entered the 48-hour film festival, and was starting to pick up some momentum. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I can do a short film. So I was like, I don't think like, trying to get a story. I like to develop a story.
Certainly. Hmm.
It's like, so I didn't think that I can make a short film. So finally, I decided to do a short film, and all I did was talk about it. Like some years is going past now. I'm talking about, hey man, I'm gonna do the short film. I haven't wrote it. I'm just waiting for it to happen. The concept was always there. I had this concept for Good Morning. It wasn't called that, but I thought about that during the time when I did Pimps, Pastors, Politicians.
Well, where
So
did Good Morning come from in terms of the inspiration?
just, hey, it's divine. It just
Okay.
came. It just, stuff just comes up.
Hmm.
I don't know. It wasn't inspired by anything. It's just it was just a thought. And then I just jot things down. Like I have my little voice recorder. And like I said, I'm doing video logs to myself. And I just happen to be going through some notes and I'm like, hey, I could resurrect, this idea. So it was just something I was just doodling around with and, wasn't inspired from anything. It's just the thought when something come across. I have a lot of one-liners that I would put in a movie and I would just write this stuff down and then I can just, and, it's like, okay, I can use this line here, you know, that I've, put in Good Morning, so, um, I kept talking about it, and then I was like, okay, it's now or never. I need to quit talking and I need to just go ahead and do it. I was getting ready to do it, got discouraged, scrapped it again. Now we're talking about 2025, the beginning of 2025, because I was going to shoot it that summer. I ain't going to do it. So I went to a friend of mine's family reunion. And I had already told them that I'm going to do it. And then for my 50th birthday party, I'm going to have a 50th birthday party, and film release.
Now that
So,
was your cameraman, right?
huh?
That was your cameraman, the
No.
one that encouraged you.
Oh no.
Okay, all right.
No, this is just a friend. I was at his family reunion and he was bragging about me doing a movie for my birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
This is last summer. And I'm like, oh man. So, I'm thinking people gonna be, yeah, you doing a movie. Okay, everybody doing a movie. It was some Tubi movie. But people asking me questions and interested, I'm not used to people being interested. Tell you the honest truth, I'm used to people hating on, you know, me, you know how it is.
Certainly, certainly.
So as people were interested in the movie and asking me questions, and then I gotta make up some stuff because I really scrapped the project. Yeah, man, I'm going, and do the movie. So I was like, yeah. So I just started agreeing. Yeah, I got a movie. I'm going to have it on my 50th birthday. So when I got back to work that Monday, I talked to my assistant director. She's one of the editors at the ministry as well. And I was like, look, I got to do the movie. I got to do the movie. Now at the time, I don't even have the whole thing wrote. And we're
You
talking,
you don't have a script or anything.
well, I have an outline. And it's like, I know the premise of what the movie is going to be about. And I have the shots too. I could see the shots, but I don't have the dialogue. You know what I'm saying? I just need to plug in
Sure.
dialogue. So I'm going back all through those papers and stuff. I'm writing stuff. Then I'm looking at my one-liners. Okay, this person could say this person could say that. And then I went ahead and got the script together. I think that family reunion was in August. Yeah, it was early. It was like the first week of August. And I just started writing immediately. That Monday, I started writing, and in a couple weeks, I called the actors I wanted. A couple weeks, I had the script. I told them so in September we were going to have our first meeting and do a read through of the script with the
Right.
two main,
Yeah,
the
table
two
read.
main people, a table read.
Mm-hmm.
We did that, did some revisions. I set the date for October 20th, I believe. And so in 2 months, all that came about. I had to just write it from scratch, get these actors, that building that you seen that we were at. I rent the whole floor of that building. So we had it that whole day. And
The office building or the basement.
the office building.
Now what office is that? I mean, if you can say.
That was an office in Troy. It was one of those offices that let people, co-work space offices.
Sure, yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
was one of those, but I told them I need the conference room. And of course, they was going to write okay, you can use the conference room. I was like, you know what? I need to rent the whole floor. I need to come in on one of the closed days and use the floor. Well, he's never done that before. That's going to be quite expensive. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, hey, I need the whole floor because I need control. I need to. One thing about movies, and especially independent Detroit movies, is we don't have what we need for our movie. I needed an office building for an attorney that looks like I couldn't use the office building where I have my studio at. You've seen how that looked.
Certainly.
It's been realistic at all. But her going through just walking through an office building, coming off an elevator, going through a glass door, that was just more believable, you know? So they let me rent the whole floor for a day. They was like, hey, we'll give you a chance. They had somebody watch me and we're not touching nothing. The offices are empty, so we bring our own decorations to decorate the, office and everything.
Now,
So
how long did you shoot at that location in
one day.
terms of one day?
It was a
What
2 day shoot.
what so
It was a 2 day shoot, and the one day was at the one day was at the building, and then the second day was in that basement.
so total hours in terms of to create a 25-minute short was 16 hours, or you probably put in longer than 8 hour days, I would think,
It
maybe.
was yeah, it was maybe first day was about 10 hours. That
Mm-hmm.
actually ran smoother than I thought. So we have a 10-hour day, and then the day in the basement was the challenge. things were just going. I mean, we was in a little confined space, so we're trying to get it
Yeah, I
going.
was down there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But that one probably took. That was probably 60. That was probably close to 13, 14 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at 24 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
So an hour a minute, I guess. you know. So the scene setting up for the I was trying to do long tracking shots. Well, I didn't try. I did long tracking shots for the beginning. How
Yes.
she pulled up, she got out the car, she went all the way to the elevator. That was a shot. And then her coming out of the elevator, sitting down, speaking to the secretary, walking all the way to the conference room was one shot.
Right.
So, and it didn't take that long. I thought, those things you gotta, if you mess up, you gotta start at one, start at one, start at one. And then the other tracking shot when she was waking up and then walking out and walking to the room until she went to the basement, that was a long tracking shot. And that's the style that I try to go for.
I mean, and it certainly worked out in terms of portraying the feeling for the movie. I mean, your cameraman was excellent. I mean, I can't. I got to give you kudos in terms of I really wasn't expecting it that quality. However, when I saw the equipment that he was working with, it's like, okay, at least he has the right stuff. Now let's see if he really has the right stuff. And it was well put together. Um, just tell our audience a little bit about. I mean, I know you want everyone, or maybe you don't. I don't know because you're going to tell us that you've entered in the contest and whatnot. But tell our audience a little bit about what Good Morning is. Tell us the story, the plot. How does it roll?
Basically, it's probably going to be it will be easier if I go ahead and write a feature film about this movie. But as people read the script, it's been turning into different things, different kind of movies. Basically, the movie is about a an attorney who's, she's a big real estate attorney who doesn't pay attention to her family. Okay. She's, making the money and she's, has a disconnect with it's a family movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the short film takes place going into act two. So established we would have established her family in the beginning and you would see the interactions and her coming back to where she was happy and then she becomes this bitter person, what I'm saying, not talking throughout, the movie,
Right.
or circumstances of the divorce. And so basically it's about it's more of a family. I'm having a hard time talking about it because it has changed to something else of what I want to do it in the future in the feature film.
Certainly.
So I have it morphed to something else, but it's about bitterness and just realizing that, things are going to get better, basically like that. So it's more of I would say it's more of a family movie, that, once it becomes a feature.
Yeah, dealing with unresolved
Oh,
unresolved trauma.
unresolved, right, trauma, and it's therapeutic for both parties involved.
Right.
It's actually going to take place where another person gets locked down there too to come in and knock on the door. So it's a big conversation. Inspired, okay, will say what it was inspired. I wouldn't say that this movie is inspired by the movie I'm going to mention, but I always wanted to do a similar movie like The Breakfast Club, where there's one location and they're in here and it has to be about the acting ability, of the people and the relationship in this one room. So I always wanted to do that way because, hey, my budget will allow that,
Mm-hmm.
I could get one location, like, okay, I'll make it this closet, okay, and they'll have this conversation down there, and we'll have an hour of the movie, now, which is dangerous too, because if it's not interesting, then you lost the audience. So there's going to have to be conflict. It's going to have to be, back and forth, situations, which I think I did a good job with having it up here, to angry to, okay, let's talk. And, get a little bit of conflict again, with the dialogue between them talking about the drink and everything, and then it calms down again, and then they come to a resolve.
Right.
So
And it actually and it ends where it begins in terms of her actually saying good
yes,
morning because
right,
yeah, because she avoided everybody in terms of
right,
engaging them first thing in the morning.
right.
Yeah,
Because of the stuff that she was going through after a few days when she found out about her, divorce. So it takes place, going into Act Two. This the so the movie is going to be based on the short film Good Morning. It's not going to be Good Morning. It's not going to end like that, like it ended in the short film.
certainly. Yeah.
This is just scenes is based on that. This is just something that happened, and then we go to the next day and see what happened. So, but
Now, now, where'd you find your actors?
actually, well, if you can remember Pimps, Pastors, and Politicians, both of those actors were in Pimps, Pastors, and Politicians.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
and
So
that's on YouTube. Let
that's
our
on you.
audience know that
Yeah,
that's on YouTube.
that's on YouTube. Pimps, Pastors, and Politicians. Um, I met through Dion Hunt. At the end, you seen a dedication to Dion Hunt,
Yes.
the memory of Dion Hunt. He was basically the guy. He was the local guy that just connects everybody together. I mean, he was an actor, but he just knows everybody, and he just get. Hey, I called him. Well, somebody told me about him. I called him. He's like, man, I need a cast. I need this. Next thing you know, a whole bunch of people came up. Grover. They did the conference room scene in Pimps, Pastors, Politicians. Penny was referred to by the guy that played the politician. And that's how I met her. And we kept a relationship throughout the years. And, I told her, I was like, if I ever do something again, I'll give her a call. And so I gave her a call, gave Grover a call. I thought those were the two best people to do it. And, the rest is history.
Now, moving forward in terms of the feature, and I know we're looking down the line here. Are you thinking of utilizing the same actors, or are you just going to start from scratch
I'm going to
from a
start
feature? Oh, okay, from
because I want
scratch.
it to be because this is going to be a movie based on, like, in my credits, it's going to be, my log lines or my synopsis. This is based on the movie Good Morning. It's basically going to tell a new story. I don't want to tell this same story,
Hmm.
but it'll be based on the events of what happened in Good Morning. So it's going to be total new actors and everything.
So, are you going to tell the audience where they can watch Good Morning, or is that
Well,
just up there
not at
just
this.
for temporary upload, or what?
That's just temporary for yes, yeah, because I'm
Okay.
getting into the festivals and the festivals don't want it out.
But talk about that, yeah, because that's where I was going next. Talk about that in terms of what you're going to do with Good Morning now that is complete and in the can.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask that. I'm going to answer your question with asking you a question, and then I'm going to answer your question. Did you
Okay.
like Good Morning?
Yes.
I want more people than family and friends to like it. So once I put it out in the film festivals, which I'm going to do,
Hmm.
my goal is to put it on the film festivals, and I get strangers to say they like it. That's when I know it arrived. Not saying that it's not good, but when you hear it from people and I know you're sincere, and I know most everybody's sincere about it. But when you hear it from a person that you don't know, or somebody selects you to be in a film festival because they like it, that's when I'm going to actually feel accomplished. Does that
Now,
make sense?
oh, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Uh, Talk about the film festival process in terms of you identify a film festival to participate in. They ask for a fee. You have to send in. I mean, what's the
Yes.
process in terms of
Um,
entering into a film festival?
The film festival that, oops, can you still see me?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, good. I just had to, I'm going to it right now.
Are you going to share your screen?
No, I got to go to, I just wanted to check something. Oh, it's called Film Freeway. Okay, so
Film Freeway.
yeah, Film Freeway. That's a website that you can go and you can enter into film festivals. So
Make
I
a note of that, people.
Film
Filmfreeway.com
Freeway.
or something.
Filmfreeway.com.
Okay,
So it's easy.
filmfreeway.com.
Every film festival, including Sundance, goes through here. You upload your movie, and it's a dashboard. So once you upload your movie, you can browse the festivals and you can submit your work. Of course, there's a fee. And some are, not 20 on average. I've seen from $20 to $60.
Oh,
The
that's
one
not bad at all.
the one I really wanted to be in, the Tribeca,
Yes.
Robert De Niro's, $510.
Okay.
So I'm not going on there right now. I'm not going to attempt that because, of course, if they don't select you, your fee is just not refundable.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they have theirs $500 because that weeds out the people who not ready. You know what I'm saying? And at this point, I don't think that I'm ready for the Tribeca. I'm not speaking negative, but there's things that I want to do better. I'm getting my feet wet again, you know. But for my feature film, I definitely will be entering. And my feature film that I'm going to do is we're going to plan to do it in 2028. I'm definitely going to be ready for Sundance, Tribeca, and all the, major film festivals, no matter how much they cost. I know that my story is strong, you know, and I'll be ready for those. So right now, I entered 10, entered five black film festivals. Matter of fact, Ann Arbor has a black film festival, and this is going to be their third year. I entered into that.
Hmm.
I entered into the Detroit Black Film Festival. I entered into I think the Atlanta one, but the Atlanta Black Film Festival is a major film festival. It's in the top
Okay.
100.
And-
Also entered into the Montreal Film Festival, which is a top 100, and the Santa Fe, which is a top 100. Sundance and Slam Dance, all of them are over now. They do theirs at the beginning of the year. So I'm getting into the ones that are for the fall, in the fall season. There's one in Cincinnati. So I've entered into five black film festivals, major black film festivals, and then five just, I guess you call them just regular top 100, film festivals. Now, getting in one of those will be just having somebody other than family and friends, you know, liking it is just that would just be, like I say, I respect all my family and friends, yes, and I do believe that I did a movie that was good, but it's just like when I did the music project, when we got on the radio, when I heard on 107.5, I'll never forget this. A Mary J. Blige song came on. And then our song came on, the one I did the music video with too. Our song came on, and then a Charlie Wilson song came on right after it. And it sounded like it belonged there. And I
Can we
didn't
find that on YouTube, or is that you're gonna send that to me?
Ron, win or lose. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
When
But say that again for our audience.
Ron, JeronRonn, win or lose. You can look that up on YouTube and you can see the music video.
Okay.
Now they didn't put a good sounding soundtrack to it, but you can also search that same song through Apple Music and listen to exactly how it sound. That was
Certainly.
editing then. We had another editor. But yeah, when you have that feeling of belonging, when I heard the song on there and I didn't request a song because I used to call and request a song. Then the song just started playing. Like you would listen to the radio and man, the song would start playing. They would actually play the song without nobody, calling until Radio One bought all the stations, and that was the end
Yeah,
of
sure.
radio as we know it. So that was,
Ah,
years ago. I mean, we were almost there. If we came out a year before, we would have been straight. Get
you
there.
certainly had a heck of a journey, I tell you.
Yeah.
And you have inspired me truly. When I watched it this morning, it was right on time. It was what I needed to hear, what I needed to see first thing in the morning. As soon as I opened my eyes after I got up off my knees in my prayer time, it was like, yes. And that's why I reached out to you. I said, yeah, I got to interview Chris. I got to interview Chris. So in closing this thing out, For people such as myself and those that might be watching that have aspirations, what do you want to leave me? What do you want to leave our audience with in terms of words of encouragement and what we should do next or anything that might be inspiring? Because I'm all ears, brother.
Okay. This is more of a statement, and it's about a couple things that I've ran across, some quotes and stuff. I heard Marlon Wayans say that he's 52 years old, and I just turned 50. And what he was saying is he's 52 years old, and he realized that he has more life behind him than he does ahead of him. So he's
Mm.
going to do everything that he can to enjoy his life and accomplish everything he's going to accomplish. Because he's absolutely right, you know? And I look at myself at 50. I have more life behind me than I do ahead of me. I've wasted time. We procrastinated. We don't know what tomorrow may bring, but we don't know what the future, bring either. And then that brings me to a thing that Jim Carrey says. You can spend your life chasing ghosts or wondering what the future is going to bring. But the only thing that's going to matter is the here and now and the choices we make, whether they be in love or in fear. You know what I'm saying? And most things that stop us is fear. Okay. We save money. All right. What do we save money for? We save
For
money.
future or whatever, or
No. What do most people, especially black people, save money for? We save money for
car, house.
a rainy day if
Hmm.
something happened where a bill is going to take that money and it's going to go on the bill.
Mm.
You need to take that money and spend it on you. Soon as I did this project, I lost my job.
Wow.
Soon as I did the project, I recorded in October. I went late October. I went on Thanksgiving vacation, came back, job was gone. If that happened before the film, all that money that I saved for the film would have went for living expenses. I
Sure.
would be more depressed. I would have nothing. But now I have something that I could be proud. The bills are still going to be there. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be there. They would still be there if I still had the job. I still would have a set of things going on. I'm driving a car now with my blower motor just went up, you know? So, but I'm still happy that I finished the project, that I put this now that's done, you know? So yeah, we can keep saving and saving and saving for the next bill that's going to happen, or you can save and just do your project and that bill will still be there when you get the money the next time.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Man,
what I got to say, man. Just
that's hey,
hopefully that was inspiring.
that speaks to me, and I'm sure it speaks to other people out there on several different levels. And certainly, Chris, um, I know as you have transitioned from one career to another career to another career, that it's just a matter of time until you pick up just a little something to keep you going while you chase what you were designed and what you were purposed for by God to do, and that is being a filmmaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got it. You heard it right here from Crawfini, the godfather of movie shorts, soon to be the godfather of full length feature films. Uh, I thank you, Chris, for taking time out to just give us some words of wisdom. Certainly, my prayers are with you and with your family and whatnot. And you're probably going to see me soon
Okay.
over there at the TV station because one of
Gonna
your
be on there with Rod. Rod
cause,
told me.
yeah,
Yeah, he
exactly.
told me. Did
Yeah.
he give you my message?
No.
Uh, don't come empty-handed. You know what I'm talking about.
Hey,
You know what I'm talking about, man.
for those of you that don't know, I'm the rib man. But anyway,
Right.
thank you, Chris. And this is Movie Mogul 101. Until next week, I'm Walt Whitmore, and thank you for joining us.